Sadie Schreiner tries to catch a tiger by the tail in court for not letting her race. A trans tennis princess talks about claiming a crown after being sat down. Gavin Newsom put his foot in his mouth again. We'll let you know how deep it went this time. She was a loved DJ, advocate, leader, and friend. With the trial of Liara Tsai's alleged killer coming, we talked to a martial artist who was close to her. And we pay homage to a favorite team who went a long way, made history along the way, and they even allowed the host of this show to play. Hello again, everybody. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay-Webb. Former Rochester Institute of Technology sprinter Sadie Schreiner, an All-American who was ruled ineligible due to the NCAA's ban on trans women in college sports, filed suit against Princeton University and representatives of the school's athletic department for alleged violations of New Jersey's law against discrimination. Now, the complaint was filed Monday night, and it stems from Schreiner being removed from the final heat sheet of Princeton's Larry Ellis Invitational just 15 minutes prior to the 200-meter event she was scheduled to be in back on May the 3rd. According to the filing, Schreiner was placed on a list of competitors for the race by meet officials, but then was removed by Princeton Athletic Director John Mack. The lawsuit contains that Mack and Princeton's head of track operations, Kimberly Keenan Kirkpatrick, had knowledge that Schreiner was trans and in turn disqualified her in violation of state law. Now, Schreiner offered the two officials her birth certificate and driver's license to reflect that she is a woman, according to the suit, but she was allegedly rebuffed by both of the representatives. According to the suit, quote, the actions of the two Princeton officials were in blatant and willful disregard of Sadie's rights, based on Sadie's rights as a transgender woman under controlling New Jersey law, therefore causing Sadie Schreiner to foreseeable emotional and physical harm. Now, also in the suit, Schreiner wants compensatory and punitive damages from Princeton for, quote, actual malice when it discriminated against Sadie by removing her from the races because she's a transgender woman. Now, since earning third place and All-American honors at the 2024 Division III Track and Field Championships while at RIT, Schreiner has been a prominent face in the discussion over transgender inclusion in sports and has been the target of anti-trans advocates. The NCAA's ban on trans women went through back on February 6th, a day after the Trump administration executive order on the issue. That ban abruptly ended her season and her competitive career at RIT. In March, Cammie Woodman, a thriving 25-year-old amateur tennis player in Brooklyn, New York, was thrown out of a New York Metro Tennis League because she's a trans woman who just happened to win a match. On June 28th and 29th, the self-named trans tennis princess completed a sweep to a crown at the Lincoln Terrace Open. Woodman raced through the tournament's women's division through 4 matches, giving up a mere 2 sets for the entire draw en route to a hard-earned first amateur open title. And joining us here at Transposition Sports, the girl with the game and with the fits, Cammie Woodman is back in the house, and Lincoln Terrace Open. It's Sunday. It's the finals. You're rocking those good tennis whites. But how did you manage the jitters leading into the final?
Yeah, well, it was a lot of pressure because I had lost in the first round the past 2 years competing in this tournament. And so it was a really big deal to me to at least just get one win, let alone win the whole thing. And the years before I had just not followed really a plan on how to actually win matches. And so I was losing, just so horribly because of my nerves. And this year I had a plan that I've been working on all year to be able to get through difficult matches. And I just stuck to it. I had the right people around me. All my friends were there. And it was just a great environment for me to just do my best. And I also just happened to, I felt lucky because I felt like I was playing good tennis too, which doesn't always happen. So I felt good.
Now, the match itself, what was really working for you?
Yeah, well, I feel like my forehand was definitely causing some damage, and I think my footwork has been a huge difference in my game. I looked at videos last year where during my matches I would just kind of stand in the same place, and I don't think my feet stopped the entire time during any of my matches during the tournament, which was really good. So I was able to, that's the first thing that goes when you're nervous is your feet, and so anytime I felt myself standing still, I just, thought about tap dancing. And so that kind of helped me just stay present and get to those balls that were farther away or harder to get to.
What was the point in the match where you just knew, I've got this one. I can win here.
I think I believed in the warm up. I mean, I just was like, I've just had so much growth from last year where I lost in the first round. And I I just knew it was my day. I was just so determined, like nothing is gonna stop me if I have to run back and forth, like, net to baseline and back again. I was just like gonna do anything it took. And I was really determined to show up and perform for my friends. So it just yeah, I felt like everything just kind of came together.
Now, with that in mind, what was the score of the match?
So I had two rounds where I won 6-love, 6-love, which was a really convincing win. And then I won 6-1, 6-3 in the second round.
So, what'd you do in the final?
So to clarify, the final, the other woman who made it to the final actually wasn't available to play, and so we didn't get an official final, unfortunately. She came later in the day for the trophy ceremony, but I think she had work or something. So unfortunately, we didn't get to play an official final, but
The thing is, like, you were unbeaten for the tournament.
yeah,
Hey, you just ripped through four matches, and you only gave up two sets. That's pretty dang convincing right there.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
Cammy, one thing with all you've been through in the past 3 months or so, the whole situation with being kicked out of that other league after winning a match, all those things. First, how did you manage to stay so resolute through all of it? Because the day after you found out all the nonsense happened, you were back
yeah.
out in the courts the next day.
Besides everything, like, just in life, there's days where you just don't want to show up and be on court at all and you just want to disappear. And I've played matches before where I'm just like, I step out onto the court and I just want to disappear. And I really realized the importance of visibility this year. And I just decided that, I would show up and choose myself. Going forward, and that's what I really did for this tournament was I chose to show up for myself.
What made you decide tennis whites for the final? Was it a
Yeah,
Wimbledon thing? Was it what was it? What led it to the
I
tennis whites?
I think I just like I felt like I was, I dubbed myself like the trans tennis princess, and I was just like today I'm the princess, and I was, it was Wimbledon, and I just felt angelic, and I just wanted to exude that. And so I felt like it was, you know, and it was kind of like a rebirth for me too. I felt like so fresh going into this when before I had lost and just beat myself before the match started. And I wanted to make a statement.
Now, you got this win under your belt. First tournament title. What's next? Where are we going to see you
Well,
play next? What's the next target?
I have a tournament this weekend actually. So the day after the final, I woke up at 6 and went right to the courts again. So and I've just been playing almost every day since. So yeah, I've been working with my coach this week, and it's been excellent. We're working more on strategy. This is actually a higher level tournament that I'm entering, and so I just want to stay fresh and I know that I'm gonna have to really work hard to get through it, and I'm not gonna meet any player who isn't ready. And it's going to be a real big challenge. And so I'm just trying to stay fresh and ready. So that's really it. I seriously feel like, I didn't do much to, I didn't really rest after or anything. I took a nice bath after, the win, and I've just been going since. So that's all that's on my mind. I'm just kind of, hustling to get through this weekend.
Exit question. What did it mean for you to get this W, especially given the way people are seeing trans people in general and trans women in sport in particular right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that it wasn't so much about the win as much as it was just like being there and being visible. And I I think it's a huge testament to all the hard work I've put in. I actually just today saw a video of me in 2023 when I was first taking lessons, and I think it's just been a super long journey. And I think being trans actually adds a huge layer of difficulty because of all the barriers we have to go through. And I think that it's just such a great sports story. I think that's why we connect with sports so much, is we find inspiration in athletes that we like. And I think that, not just in the past year, like since like the first time I put on a tennis dress, like it's been a difficult journey, but also just really beautiful. And I think the win is just a testament to how hard I've worked, because it definitely wasn't talent or natural ability. I was probably the worst athlete you could imagine when I first started. And so it means a lot. And yeah, I'm really just like excited to keep going.
Well, Cami, thank you for being on Transposition Sports. Good luck this weekend, and we're gonna keep our eye on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially especially the tennis looks, because you're winning.
I know.
You
I
already
don't
know you
even
got
know
the
what to
fashion game.
wear. I don't know what to wear this weekend. I have nothing to wear.
I got a thought, baby blue. Go
That could
Carolina
be
blue this
good.
weekend.
Yeah. Blue's so in. That's a good idea. I'm
Hey,
gonna see what I got.
but thanks for being with us, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Carly. I appreciate it. Good talking to you.
The next part of this show is brought to you by
He's not for they, them either. Gavin Newsom for president.
Yep, he did it again. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom was on the Sean Ryan Show, and he was asked about transgender inclusion in sports. Here's what he had to say. Content warning. It's Gavin Newsom. You know what you're about to get.
When you get to the issues around sports, trans issues, that's now no longer about celebrating your rights. It's about denying other people theirs. Marriage equality was about everyone's right. Your marriage was not diminished because a couple that had been together 30 years got married and happened to be the same sex. But your child may not have that same opportunity to get on the podium if a trans athlete is competing for that limited spot. 2 years ago, there was a state track championship. And we had a trans athlete that was successful. And there was a video of the girl that lost, and she was devastated. And that video went around everywhere. And it was very emotional. It was very real. And you felt for the girl that she's not going to get to those state finals. And the finals were a few weeks away. There was a lot of energy around it. Like, people are like pissed, understandably. And I remember calling my team in. I said, is there a compromise? What can we do here? Like, this is legit. And there was someone that advises the International Olympic Committee, who happens to, I think, live in California. And they came in to say, well, what's the right stage for a woman, man, is pre-puberty, et cetera. They said it's incredibly nuanced, incredibly difficult. And I remember being just amazingly frustrated by it. And the worst thing is the two girls, instead of us being able to figure it out, they both dropped out. The trans athlete and the girl that lost. They both didn't even play the finals. I'm like, man, that wasn't fair. I said that to my team. I remember at the time saying it to my team. Then I started showing up on my kids' soccer games everywhere else. Every parent coming up said it's so unfair. Like, whoa. Like everywhere I went. Progressively minded people, not bigots that are champions of trans policy, like I am. But because you oppose sports does not make you a bigot, doesn't make you homophobic. And my party needs to stop saying that. There are certain people that cannot stand the community, and that's different. But the vast majority of the folks I come into contact that think it's unfair are good human beings, and I think we should treat them accordingly, and we got to own up to that. So I went on a journey on this, and I'm firm that it's not fair. And we had another example just a few weeks ago in California, just reinforced it, triple jump, and it just not. And I'm trying to figure out, we came up with some compromise. It's not me, something called the CIF in California, which is independent of the governor. But they came up with what they thought was a compromise, which was allowing 2 medals. But that kind of pissed everything. It worked-ish, but it's not the answer to this. And so we got to address it, because I really worry about LGBTQ rights getting rolled back.
You know something? Whenever I see Gavin Newsom, for some reason, I think about this guy.
Nixon now. Nixon now.
People have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
When we return to Transposition Sports, Laura Tsai, loved DJ, friend, transgender advocate out in Minnesota in the Twin Cities, brutally murdered last year. With her trial coming up, we talked to a close friend who's looking to get an effort to make sure that her chosen family can get to the Twin Cities and stay in the Twin Cities for what will be an arduous trial ahead. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay-Webb. Stay with us, but we're going to take you to the break with a look at a great season for your favorite team in mind. Go Connecticut Ambush.
She will throw, no surprise here. Going for the corner of the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown, Julia Mullen. There's Valentino in the shotgun. Look down the middle and completed to Voda again. There's Erica Voda. Gonna bounce to the outside past the 20, 15, 10, going for the pylon. She's in. Touchdown Ambush. Erica Voda will pass again. Pocket collapsing across the middle of the field. It's intercepted. Picked off by Kenya and Selme. And Selme is going to run this one back to the house. A pick 6 for Kenya and Selme.
Valentino from shotgun. Rush coming in. Valentino looking. Fires it outside. Gets it to Vada. And Vada looks gone. Good night. Erica Vada from Valentino. 55 yards. Valentino back to pass. Valentino looking left for the end zone. Has Vada touchdown. Oh yes. Erica Vada, second touchdown of the night. And she does that dance.
I interrupt Transposition Sports because I'm cute and I can't. And for this message from the angry gay grandpa. You don't pay me enough for this, Carly.
So maybe I'll start a little bit softer.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Dad?
Before you say anything, I just want to apologize for what I said this morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking. If you want to change your name, if you want to wear a dress.
It's a skirt, Dad.
skirt. I don't know the kind of support you need, but let's get you some for all this transgender stuff.
Wait, are you serious? Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is me supporting you. This is me saying I love you. This is me not losing you.
Love you, Dad.
Love you. Holly.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Welcome back to Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb. Now, one thing about Transposition Sports is, yes, we're a sports show, but there are times when there are certain things in our community and in life that transcends the human drama of athletic competition and go towards just being human. And one of those stories is about to come to a head in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A good friend of mine who's well known as a trans person, prominent in the community, and who's also a pretty good athlete, came to me with the story just a few days ago. And it's a story I've kind of kept my eye on even before then, especially if you like to cut a rug at the club a little bit, as I do. That story involved Liara Tsai. Liara Tsai was a prominent DJ in the Twin Cities, and her fame and name spreads far throughout the deep cyber disco undergrounds, not just in the Midwest, but across our country and in some ways globally. When she was murdered last year, the trial coming up in September, it cast a pall over many people who are close to music. A friend of mine who's a DJ up here where I live in Connecticut said she was a mix of grit, gossamer, and glitter, and her like is rarely seen. But I'm sure that pall is even deeper out in the Midwest. But this friend came to me and said there's an effort to make sure that the people closest to her can be in the Twin Cities starting in September in what will be an arduous, difficult trial. The alleged was a former partner. With that, I bring on April Lee. April Lee was close to Liara and is also close to the sports scene as a martial artist. And she graciously came to our forum to talk about the loss of a special soul to our community. April Lee, welcome to Transposition Sports.
Thank you so much, Carly. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, right up front, last June, you heard the news.
Mm-hmm.
How did that hit yourself and the community? Because this, there were ripples felt from the Twin Cities to Chicago to where you are in Iowa. How did this land for everybody?
Well, it's hard to say anything other than obviously for me it was completely devastating, right? She was my partner. We were very close. We had lived together for a while, and she had moved to the Twin Cities about 6 weeks before her murder. I had stayed with her in the Twin Cities a few weeks before she died. For me personally, I honestly felt responsible as someone that close to her, as someone, and I guess you could even say as someone who's a martial artist or something. There was a big part of me that felt like I had failed to protect an extremely important person to me. Within the community, obviously, there was so much devastation, and what I think that everyone should understand is that, in the wake of her death, there were all of these events. There was so much going on, these celebrations of life, and these were happening in Minneapolis, in Iowa City, in Madison. I believe there was a celebration of life in Albany, New York, and in Chicago. And that was not just based on sort of her renown like as a DJ, right? Because the people who were actually like staging these events and everything and who were expressing like their this loss in their mourning were actually all people who were very close to Liara. And so it's not just kind of about her standing in the community, it's about how much she affected everyone around her. Like she was so social, she was so outgoing, she was so warm and so caring for all of the people in her life that the outpouring of grief was the most outstanding thing I've ever seen, you know.
Let's talk about her when she was walking among us. What does she mean to the community in regards to, I know she was an activist. I mean, she was a hidden DJ, but also she was out there in community defense, in mutual aid, doing the nitty-gritty work. Give me a portrait of what it was like to be around her, be with her, work with her, and be close to her as a friend, as a partner.
Right. Yeah. You know, in terms of sort of her activism, a lot of people are aware that she actually worked with like 988 Lifeline, right? So her connection, or for Trevor Project, essentially, actually. So her connection with the queer community was that she was literally like essentially saving people's lives every day, right? And she had a background in sort of like psychology. She'd studied in college, and relationships and healing were like extremely, extremely important to her. Um, you know, most of the people that sort of knew her kind of knew her. She often in like one-on-one scenarios as a close friend. Like all of these people that were close to her in her life, we didn't necessarily know each other that well before she died. We all came together afterwards, but most of us knew her as like a close friend for us because she loved conversing with people. She checked in on the people in her life all the time. She was aware of the challenges in the queer community that people are struggling most of the time. And she was just very, very connected and very willing to listen and provide, you know, give anything of herself that she could to sort of take care of her people, you know? Um, but I think one of the biggest things that has essentially sort of made her like a symbol in the community is how sort of dramatically just authentic she was. Like she had this big personality. There was nothing about herself that she toned down for anyone in any way, right? To like to a degree that you don't meet people like that. You don't meet people as outspoken as she is, as self-confident as she is. Um, and that's an energy, right, that the queer community needs and that we all resonate with. It's just fearlessness, boldness, self-expression, loving yourself, loving your body and who you are, and teaching that to other people.
You're part of an effort to make sure that those closest to her who want to be there, even from some far-flung locations, will have the ability to be there, be witness, and be nurturing to others and be nurtured. Tell me about that effort.
Yeah. So, you know, I want to set the stage a little bit. So the essentially as far as, you know, the legal system or the criminal justice system or anything like that is concerned, like Liara's next of kin were essentially like biological half siblings. You know how biological family in the trans community kind of is. These actually are not people who were close to Liara in her life, and they were half siblings. They weren't actually people she grew up with, right? You know, Liara's family, and you know, the family that she's got, right, is her adoptive family who lives in Taiwan, and it's her partners and her closest friends and the person that she collaborated on a record label with. So this group of us, right? And we're very close. We're in contact with each other. We're talking about this. But to set the stage, I kind of want to say that we don't necessarily have a voice, right? There's these criminal justice proceedings going on, but they only know about this biological family that wasn't involved in her life. even know to any extent if they're really aware of who we are or anything like that. And it's important to us to be there, right? To the extent that we can be present and be involved, it's important to us. And that's why it's so important that we are able to attend. Some of us are in Minneapolis, we're in Iowa City, we're in Chicago. So we do need to be able to travel. We need to be able to stay in Minneapolis. And there's so many unknowns. There's so much information that we don't have. How long is this going to go? What's the format going to be? All this kind of stuff is really up in the air. So we've set a pretty ambitious goal for the fundraiser. Any funds that aren't actually used by us are going to the Twin Cities Transmutual Aid Fund.
On a personal note, how important is it for you to be there?
Oh, it's extremely important. Yeah, no, it's not negotiable in any way, shape, or form. I have to be there for this.
What is your greatest worry heading into this? For yourself, for others, for community, what are your greatest worries and perhaps fears?
That's a really great question, and I've got a really big answer, and it's one that maybe other people wouldn't expect. At this time, I am worried about what the criminal justice system is going to do. And this fear got a lot worse for me with the election and with the new administration. We pretty much right away we saw that that the administration was making changes. They were going to send trans women to men's prisons and stuff like that. This is an uncomfortable topic, but that was something that was terrifying. That's very shocking. That can be like a death sentence. That's extremely cruel treatment. And me and the other people closest to Liara obviously know a trans person, right, who's in the hands of the criminal justice system.
You're talking about the alleged here.
Talking about the alleged. Yes, her name is Margot. I'm talking about, yes, the person who's being charged with Liara's murder. And a big fear that I have in this time, at this time and sort of in this context is, or essentially, what is the criminal justice system going to do? What's going to be restorative? What's the plan? If Liara's partners and the people closest to her, if we don't even have a voice, if they don't even know what resolution looks like for us, what are they going to do? How are they going to know how to proceed? And is the outcome going to be more violence against the trans community, right? Because the person alleged was well known in our community, right? I personally strongly believe she had very serious mental health issues that may have motivated the alleged actions. I knew her personally, and I found her to be a really sweet, considerate person in my correspondence with her. There's a perspective from which this is a trans community issue. There's another trans person whose fate is at stake here. And it's not to say that there's no justice that's needed or anything like that. I don't mean for it to be taken that way. But can the criminal justice system meaningfully help this person? Or, if the goal is to punish, in my mind, that equals compounding the harm to the trans community.
With that in mind, though, I want to switch gears a little bit, but not overly so.
Okay.
Because you're a martial artist.
Yes.
First off, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
It's been known to be a little problematic. Some people call it fascistic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile, in a sense, if you do, being a practitioner of it, loving it, but at the same time, knowing that shortfall and that reputation that's out there?
My personal perspective is that I have been a martial artist since I was a kid. So, for me personally, I'm going to be on the mat. I'm going to find a mat. You know, I didn't really necessarily go into BJJ, um, even necessarily worrying about my trans identity. I've been on a lot of mats. I don't really anticipate problems when I go onto the mat. Now, guess what? I have had problems on the mat, right? I've got,
No, you have no.
you know,
Name a place.
so
It's sports, and it's sports, especially trans women. Of course, we are going to have problems.
yeah, we've had those problems. And so I got to experience that, right? Like I'm in the Iowa City community. This is a queer community. This is not a place where typically have to worry about presenting, you know, myself when I go out. So I didn't actually expect to encounter that resistance, but yes, there is, you know, there's a gym in our community where I've had that bad experience where I tell people, if you're queer, stay away from this place, right? Because it is like it's got that institutional flavor that you're talking about. It's that kind of
Mm-hmm.
right. But what I'm really proud of, what I'm really happy about is that my gym, the gym I train at, Arroyo Grappling Academy, is a staunch ally, right? We fly the progress flag on the wall next to the Brazilian flag, right? Like my coach Danny Arroyo is putting out that message like loud and clear. This is a safe, inclusive place to train. If anyone is not making it safe or inclusive, I'm going to handle that, right? And he has absolutely handled anything like that when it arises. So for me personally, I'm not on the day to day when I go to hit the mat, I'm not thinking about the broader cultural context of everything that's wrong with the BJJ community. I'm thinking about my safe place, right down the street where I go, where I'm going to train, where I do feel respected and where I'm having a great time. So
Now, Danny's been name dropped by somebody who's a friend of the show, Katie Christensen out in Cedar Rapids, who's starting a queer boxing class out of the gym out there. So no, that name's been name dropped with some honor. But with that in mind, also, especially with what you just talked about in regards to the alleged, how important is community defense, community care, and community self-defense in these times for trans people?
I mean, I'm so biased, you know, I'm a firm advocate, right? Because, right, this is my lifestyle and I'm out here saying, hey guys, you know, let's get into this, right? And I'm not the only voice in my community, right, where we're thinking about self-defense. I will say that combat sports as a means of community self-defense, right? There is absolutely that reticence in the queer community, in the trans community, right? Like people are afraid to get on that mat. They're afraid of what's going to happen, right? So I said that I feel confident. I live on the mat. You can't take it from me. People who are queer and they've never been on the mat before and they have the conceptions that they have of sort of martial arts culture are scared of what's going to happen. And so, you know, in my community, I'm a loud voice saying, hey, I know a safe place to train. If you don't want to go in alone, message me. I'll come in with you. We'll do that. And we've had some success, right? We've had people who come in and they don't feel confident, you know, but then they develop that. And it does a lot of harm to the queer community when you lock us, when we feel locked out of sports, competition, everything that can develop that in us, right? When you take that away from a community, when you try to shut a community out of that, that does serious harm. Um, you know,
That's something we both know about.
yeah, absolutely. Right. So it is so harmful to shut a community out of that. And I'm seeing, you know, the queer community look for any way that, you know, we can to keep ourselves safe. And there are many, many things you can do. I'm an advocate for unarmed self-defense and for building the types of attributes that you build on the mat, right? Whether it be they situational awareness, be they self-confidence, and you know, essentially in some cases aggressiveness, offensive, being offensive when you need to be, being assertive when you need to be. that's good for our community. As it pertains to the alleged and what's happening here, this was an incidence of, in my opinion, what I think, this appears to be an incidence of domestic violence, where there is a case of vulnerability. This is not exactly the same type of scenario we're usually training for. When I'm on the mat, I'm expecting hostility from someone who doesn't like who I am, open hostility, possibly in a public space. In this case, we're talking about vulnerability, domestic violence. Don't necessarily know what happened, don't know if physical self-defense could have played a role, don't know if better situational awareness, like a martial artist might develop, could have played a role in protecting Liara. Those are unknowns for me.
Coming to the exit questions now. The first one, you live in Iowa City.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Trans, Iowa. Trans in Kim Reynolds, Iowa. How are you getting through? How's the community getting through?
Yeah, well, the first thing, for anyone who's not from this area, who doesn't, most people obviously haven't heard too much about Iowa City. This is a very progressive community.
College town.
College.
Oh, Hawkeyes. College town.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, why am I on a sports podcast saying, you've never heard of Iowa City? That's crazy. Maybe, yeah, right.
Well, I'll admit, being a Northwestern graduate, I kind of hate Iowa.
Right.
Especially when I went to college there because of a certain sport I love. No discussion for another show. But how's the community been coping, even in a progressive community such as Iowa City, college town?
Yeah,
because this is real. What Governor Reynolds did, it's real.
Yes. The thing, yes, with erasing, gender equality as a protected class, right, in the state of Iowa, and everything that can and is falling out from that. That's a major harm to our community. So, what I can tell you about my community here in Iowa City, this is a major blueberry situation, right? There's the Iowa that you think about, and then there's kind of who we are, and what we are is two different things. And in my opinion, Iowa City is about, it's what I think is good about Iowa. And I'm still here because to me, this is the resistance, right? This is the queer community. These are the people who are standing up, and you can't just get out the way when someone else is trying to take away your rights, assert their will over you, right? Like, we've got to be here. We've got to stand up for ourselves. And I think that's what my community's thinking about.
The exit question. With the trial coming up, what do you think is the major way that all of you can just be there and tarry for one another through this?
So we have built community amongst ourselves. Many of the people that were closest to Liara, we are now very, very close. We're in close communication with each other. It's important for us to be present. It's important for us to support each other and receive support. It's important for us to be heard and understood for our community. The legal justice system recognizes biological family and doesn't know who we are. But in the trans community, in our community, often biological family is absent or has abandoned us, right? We have our chosen family, we have our partners, and we'd like to be recognized. We need to be present. We need to support and uplift each other.
For those of you watching out there tonight, we'll make sure that the link to make your contribution to this effort, make your contribution to the GoFundMe, will be in the comments. But for all of us as community, let's stand together, right? Let's stand together, not just for this, but for all these things, because these are all difficult times that we're going through. And April, just know that my thoughts are with you and the thoughts of all those who are a part of Transposition Sports Nation. They're with you as well. And I want to bring you back to talk more about community self-defense and talk about martial arts and talk about all these different things. So we're going to want you just became a friend of the show tonight. And April Lee, thank you for being a part of Transposition Sports. It was great to have you here, and we're going to make sure that we continue to press this through to the trial and through the trial.
Thank you so much, Carly. I'm so honored. Thank you for spending this time with me today.
Finally tonight, a team near and dear to my heart ended the season on Saturday. The Connecticut Ambush, a team I was proud to play for, reached the WFA Division III National Conference Championship game. We were down in Richmond, Virginia last Saturday. I was sidelined due to an ankle sprain suffered in the fourth quarter of our playoff win against the Music City Misfits. But still, I was there not only rooting on the team, but doing play-by-play of official broadcast of the game for the team. If you want to watch the game, send the liner notes. It's at my YouTube channel. Fortune wasn't with us. Richmond 45, Connecticut 14. However, while we didn't reach the moon that we set out for, we caught a lot of stars along the way between when we began in fall camp in October and where we ended up on Saturday night. Yes, I may cry because it's over, but I'm also going to smile because it happened. Because in many ways, we reached a lot of goals as a team. We set out to try and get to Canton. And yeah, we fell short, but we weren't failures. 6 wins, only 2 defeats. Not too shabby. But it wasn't about the wins and the losses as it was about the people. People like my mates on the defense, like D. Williams and Els Landfear, and Jamila Jams Gordon, who was a rookie who lives in the Boston area and took a bus every practice night, 2 hours back and forth between Boston and our practice bases in Connecticut to be there. Jams and I became friends. And the funny thing is how we met. She played for the New Hampshire Rebellion the year before. The first time I met Jams Gordon was on a kickoff. We still laugh about that moment now. I also think about our All-Americans. Players such as Sam Valentino, first-team All-American kicker, and the grit and heart she showed to get knocked down and get back up time and time again as our quarterback. Sam Valentino was one of the first people I met in this ride through football of the last 3 years, and I can tell you there's a reason why she's our quarterback. The heart, the toughness, the leadership. I'd follow her to the gates of hell and back. And Deja Spearman. This was a rookie, great athlete, plugged in at defensive end, and all she did was dominate this season, and she was a first-team All-American. I also look at Erica Vada. Got to know her when I came to the Ambush last year, and let me tell you, this year, she was grit and glitter. One of the stars of the team as a receiver, the big play threat. I can tell you, she's got the styles, she's got the skills, and on a touchdown late in the playoff game over the weekend, she showed her sassy. Check out the dance, and of course, there was the point. The point. That was some serious weapons-grade sassatonium. She was a second-team All-American, right beside another one of my defensive line mates, Tanasia Boston. The bowling ball is an All-American once again. And I can tell you, it was an honor flying with her. And there was a couple rookies. One, Kenya Ansome, a running back, defensive back who's got a bright future in this game. And another one I'm exceptionally proud of because Julia Mullen came to this team as an athlete in many sports, but never played football. And early on, she got down herself, but I kept telling her, hey, you're going to get it. You're going to pick this up. You're an athlete. Go pick it up. And she picked it up as a receiver and as a defensive back. And in the playoffs, she made the play that kept her season alive. Less than a minute left, Misfits threatening, looking to hit the deep pass to get them closer, and out of nowhere comes Mullen to make the play, the interception that sealed the game. And then on Saturday night, there was a play where she showed her grit, where she put her face in the fan and saved a touchdown with an excellent tackle. Proud of you, Julia. Look to see you next year. And third team All-Americans. Tina Valentino, my big-haired sister, getting the third team honors, and a player near and dear to my heart because we've been close from the jump, Anna Villafane. The player who perhaps is most responsible for me even playing football when she looked in my face at a practice for the good old Reapers 3 years ago, looked in my eyes, grabbed my lapels and said, "You better come play for us next year." Well, Anna, I'll tell you, you better come play for us next year. I'm sure she will, and I will. And to every member of the Ambush, the coaches, and to our owner, who's given us her heart and her soul to this effort the last 2 years, Colleen Viserica, thank you. I'll be back, and we'll be back. See you in 2026, where we make the chase for the championship again. For Transposition Sports, I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb.